Pause. Words in pause. In this module, we'll look at what happens to words when they're in pause. We introduced this and looked at it a little bit when we looked at accents quite a while ago. I think chapter 4, chapter 5. And we noted there the main accents that cause words to be in pause. I'll just review this briefly. So if we have a verse in Hebrew running along like this, okay, it's going along, different words, not all neatly lined up like this, but whatever. The end of the verse is marked by a sof pasuk, which is two vertical dots, or little diamonds really. And then in the last word of the verse, there will be a saluk. And the saluk will be on the tone syllable, on the stressed syllable where accent marks are almost always sitting. It looks like a method, but it's not, because a method doesn't go on the tone syllable. But this word will be in pause, and the syllable where the saluk lands is where a vowel change will happen if it's going to happen. The other place where pause happens frequently is with the atnach. And the atnach looks something like this. It divides the verse into two parts, not necessarily equal parts, but two parts, and it marks usually the end of a clause. And this word will be in pause, and wherever the atnach lands, that syllable, which is the stressed syllable, that syllable will be in pause, and that's where the vowel change will happen if it's going to happen. So we'll look in this module at 3 potential vowel changes, and then at one example in particular that is particularly important. Okay. The first vowel change I want to look at is from the Pathach to the Qamets. Here's the Pathach, here's the Qamets. So we're going from short A to long A. So this is a lengthening, which is typically what happens. It lengthens because you have more time given to the word. And I'll copy these over. So these are our words how they normally look. And this is where I'll write the words in pause. So if we had this word in pause, at the end here, the stressed syllable, then Qamets would go to Pathach. Sorry, Pathach would go to Qamets. So we can just change this. Fortunately, it's not too hard to do with a Pathach. So this means visit, of course, and it looks now like it's a noun, but it's not a noun, it's just in pause. At becomes at. This is the feminine independent personal pronoun, you, feminine singular, and mayim becomes mayim. So it doesn't change a lot. It's not going to cause a lot of problems. In fact, unless you're looking for it, you may not even notice it. But sometimes words will look a little different. The second vowel change that can happen is going from a Segol to a Qamets. Segol to Qamets. So we have Pathach to Qamets and Segol to Qamets. 2 vowels lengthening to the same one. And let me copy this as well. See if I can get all this. Move it over. So these are all segolets. We have kerev, meaning midst, eretz, meaning land, and eved, meaning servant or slave. So what happens in pause? Well, pause will happen on the stressed syllable, whatever the stressed syllable is. So in this case, they're all segolets, so it'll all be on the first syllable. And they'll all change to Qamets. So let me get rid of this here. Put a Qamets in. So keved becomes kaved. Here we hear the difference. On the previous page here, this page, I don't hear the difference because I don't make a sound distinction between Pathach and Qamets. It's pakad and pakad. But here there is a difference. Kerev becomes karev. And eretz becomes aretz. And if you're familiar with the modern Israeli newspapers, you'll know that there's one called haaretz. And so they've got ha here. They've got it changed into this. Aretz, haaretz, instead of eretz. And eved becomes aved, just like the other two. Eved becomes Aved. So that's the second change. Segol goes to a Qamets. The third change is when a Shva, a vocal Shva, returns to its full vowel, or to a full vowel in any case. And sometimes you can figure out what vowel it's going to go to. Other times it's not all that clear. So here we have pakada. Okay, this is the cal 3fs, third feminine singular perfect. Remember, we add the vocalic Qamets hey, which causes a syllabification change. It steals this last consonant, and you get pretonic reduction. So this is the Shva we're talking about. Let me copy these two. If this were in pause, what you would get is this would change, presumably to the Qamets, sorry, to the Pathach, because that's the theme vowel for pakad, for the perfect. But because it's in pause, it lengthens to the Qamets. So where we had pakada, we now have pakada, or pakada, I suppose, because this would be the stressed syllable. Like if we had a saluk or a sof pasuk here, it's just an example. Sof pasuk, then you'd have your saluk here. So this would be pakada, 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 pakada. Sorry, pakada. So it sounds different. Notice how we have these two little dashes, two little vertical lines. This one is the metheg, and this one is the saluk, because this is the stressed, the tone syllable. Now here we have sus with cha on the end. So susecha, your horse, masculine singular. So there's a noun with a pronominal suffix. And this can change too, because we had a reduction here. And actually this, I don't know if this is reduced from something or not, but it's part of this pronominal suffix. Susecha, vocal shava, and so this goes to susecha. So for instance, this could happen if you had a atnach there, susecha. So that sounds different. Susecha, susecha. Okay, I think I have a couple more examples of this particular one, of the Shva. Here we have yishma'u. This is the cal imperfect, right? We got the prefix there. Cal imperfect, 3MP. Yishma'u, they will hear, if you translate in the future. And here we have yishpatu, they will judge. So this is third guttural, and this is normal, strong verb. So move these over here and see what they become. Yishma'u becomes yishma'u. This goes to an a. Yishma'u. And this one, yishpatu, becomes yishpotu. Let's see here. Get my keys. Back to the brush. Dagger Shalani is still there? Yes. Yishpatu, yishpotu. So this vocal shava went to a Qamets, and this vocal shava went to a holum. Which makes sense, because this is a guttural, and a guttural is going to have Pathach for the theme vowel in the imperfect. Now it's in pause, so it's going to lengthen. Pathach goes to Qamets. This one here is a strong verb, and it's dynamic, and it's not stative. It's not guttural. So it's going to go back to its theme vowel of holum. And a holum is already long, so it stays there. So you can usually make some sense as to why it's lengthening to the particular vowel it's lengthening. But more importantly, when words are in pause, they will often change their vowel if it's a short vowel. And these are some examples of what can happen. Pathach goes to Qamets, Segol goes to Qamets, Shva returns to a full vowel, whatever would make sense in that place. whatever would be there if it hadn't reduced. Now, this is an important one, a special, well, it's not special, it's just important because it can be confusing. This is the pronominal suffix, cha, the 2ms, pronominal suffix on le and on b. So this is to you, and this is with you or by you or something like that. Now, what happens in pause can be confusing if you're not aware of this, because this goes, the Shva there goes to a Qamets. And this Qamets disappears, and you get this final silent Shva in here. So, lecha went to lach. And if you go and look at your tables, you'll see that this one here is masculine, 2ms. This is masculine singular. And this one, I guess I should write it out completely, 2ms, is also 2ms. In pause, this is also 2ms, but this is the same form as the feminine, the 2fs. So it sounds like you're saying to you feminine, talking to a girl or a lady. And the same happens here. So if you're not aware of this, you may wonder what's going on. Why do we have a gender, this odd gender at the end of your word? You're talking about a male or something and it flips to female. It's because it's in pause. So this here, even though it looks like the feminine form, to you feminine, it really is to you masculine, if it's in pause. So just remember that. You'll probably forget it, but then you'll be translating along and you'll come across this and wonder, why in the world is this changing gender here? And then you'll note, oh yes, it's in pause. That's why. So words in pause can lengthen their vowels, certain short vowels, because you're giving more time to that particular syllable, and the changes we get or typically get are Pathach to Qamets, Segol to Qamets, and Shva going back to some longer full vowel.